Hey guys, Wyatt here, and in this video I have a pretty crazy story for you about how I made $41,000 from Beyond Meat's IPO. Now, I normally don't buy any stocks. In fact, I really haven't bought any before this whole Beyond Meat IPO. So I'll kind of walk you through the story and tell you how I got to the point of actually making $41,000. It goes all the way back to the beginning of 2019. I believe it was around January when Beyond Meat actually announced that they would be doing an IPO. Now, at the time, I had been vegan for about 1.5 years and I was really interested in the space. At some point, I knew I wanted to start a plant-based company. I really believed in kind of the long-term market and opportunities that were there around kind of sustainable food and plant-based food. So I was really excited, to say the least. I was pumped up. I knew I was going to be buying some Beyond Meat stock. I loved the company. I loved the product. I ate it pretty often, not super regularly, because I try to eat really, really clean most of the time. But nonetheless, really loved the company and knew I was going to be buying some stock. Now, I started digging a lot deeper into kind of the company's financials and a little bit of their history, and their growth was absolutely insane. Like 2015, they did just over 8 million in sales. They were pretty much doubling year over year. 2017 did 32 million in sales. 2018, 87.9 million in sales. So more than double from 2007 to 2018. And they were predicted to do over double as well in 2019, doing over 200 million in sales. That kind of growth is usually not seen in companies going public. Usually they're a little bit further along, a bit more mature. So I was really excited to be getting in at, obviously not the ground floor, but a pretty early stage in what I thought was the potential of Beyond Meat in the plant-based space. So I was pumped. I immediately turned on Google notifications to get regular updates every single day about any news or anything that was going on in the IPO. I just didn't want to miss anything. So I had that stuff turned on. I was checking in daily, but overall really didn't hear much for a few months until May. That's when it actually became kind of official, and the date was set, as well as kind of the initial price, which was $25 per share. Now, that put the company's valuation at around 1.4, 1.5 billion, which I thought was a great deal. I thought that was a great valuation, especially at an IPO. Like, I thought I was going to be getting it at a great price. Think about it, 200 million predicted sales 2019. That's really only 6-7 times revenue for 2019. So I thought it was a great deal. There were definitely some analysts out there saying otherwise, people that had blogs and stuff saying it was a little bit expensive, but I felt it was great. Honestly, anything under 5 billion I thought was pretty fair based on their growth and their trajectory, as well as their path to profitability. They were showing early signs of heading in a really, really good direction. So I remember putting in a limit order, a buy order at $30 per share. Right, and this was a day before the IPO, and really nobody knows what time it's going to be available or any of those details. So you kind of just really need to stay on top of it and just check in kind of yourself. So that's the situation that I was in. All that whole rest of the day and the next morning, I was kind of reading articles and trying to just look for any kind of information. A lot of blogs and people who own stock websites were kind of putting out tips and stuff saying anything under $35 a share is a good price for Beyond Meat. So I kind of bumped up my initial order from 30 to 32, and then from 32 to 35. And I was ready. I knew it was going live sometime the next day. I wanted my automatic order to fire without me having to kind of immediately be there to buy it manually. So I thought I was set. I was good to go. And the next morning kind of rolled around. More articles started coming out leading up to the actual IPO, saying that it may be priced as high as $45 for the opening price. So that started to seem like a little bit expensive for me, but I still thought it was a good deal. Again, I thought anything really under kind of 5 billion valuation was a pretty good deal going in based on their trajectory. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna bump it up to $45 for my my limit order. And I was still checking just constantly because I was going to be putting in about $19,000 or $19,200. So a good amount of money that I was going to be investing in this, and it was going to be a good amount of shares that I was getting. So I was checking it very regularly, making sure that I wouldn't miss it, making sure just to keep an eye on it and see kind of what would happen. And then all of a sudden, I was just refreshing. I was just like sitting in a coffee shop, and it went live. And all of a sudden it was available to buy. And you started seeing kind of things changing immediately on Robinhood as far as the price. It started going up a little bit. And my order didn't go through. Like it didn't go through. And I think it's because the price immediately it opened at 45, but it immediately went up within seconds. So I didn't get any shares at my $45 order. And so I just kind of quickly went in and put in a new buy order. The new buy order that I put in was right around $47.50, and that was for 399 shares. It executed immediately, so I had spent or invested rather about $18,700 some dollars and got 399 shares. I had about 500 remaining. I didn't do the full amount that I was planning on just because I was in such a hurry to make sure I got that order in before the price, because it was going up super quick. This was all within seconds of the IPO being available on Robinhood. So I then went and ordered an additional 10 shares for about $470. And that was kind of my total amount in at that point. So I had 409 shares. I had about $19,200 or so invested. Finally took a sigh of relief. I was happy I got in at a super early price. And honestly, within the first hour, it was already up to $55. So I was pumped. I was really glad things worked out. And although my automatic order didn't go through, I was able to still get it at a very early price. And actually at the end of the day, it closed at $65. So that $19,200 that I invested was already up to above $26,000 at that point. So within the first day, it went up, over $7,000. So I was pumped. This was a long-term hold for me. So I wasn't even thinking about selling anything at this point. I was just you know what, this is great. There's a lot of hype around this. There's a lot of articles coming out. And overall, I just felt really good about that first day. Now, after that first day, after they closed, the news was just ridiculous. There were tons of articles, tons of people tweeting about it, talking about it. So many people saying it was beyond ridiculous, which is crazy that that's the best that they could come up with. I don't know how many times I saw that on headlines of articles.
Beyond Meat is beyond ridiculous. The valuation of Beyond Meat is beyond ridiculous.
Anyways, I was kind of ignoring that stuff. I did think it was pretty crazy, obviously, how fast it shot up, especially because it was supposed to be opening at $25 per share. That $65 that first day closed at already put the value at, around $3.8 billion. So pretty crazy difference, almost a 3 times difference compared to where it was supposed to open at. So I thought that was pretty insane. A lot of people thought it was ridiculous and that it was not worth that price point. But then it just kept going up, literally just kept going every single day until it got, past $80 within a week or so. It really wasn't long at all. And my initial investment was looking pretty good. I was feeling good about it, but I was starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable with the valuation and kind of where it was sitting. I felt like at some point it would probably dip back down to a bit of a more reasonable valuation. So it was at that point where I was like, I've turned this, 19,000 into over 30. It was 33, 34 or something like that, maybe a little less. I was like, I should really look at maybe returning a little bit of initial capital to myself just so I don't have to worry about this, just so I don't have to stress. It was changing so much on a day-by-day basis. I was just checking the app too much. I was checking in constantly. I knew it just wasn't good for me. It was a bit of a stressful kind of situation, although it was mostly good news. So at that point, I was like, okay, at around 85 or 89, I forget exactly, I was like, I'm going to sell about half my shares and return my initial investment to me, and the rest is like the house's money. I'm just going to let it ride, and it's going to be an extremely long-term hold. So that was kind of the plan, and it was teetering around like $85. It didn't seem like it was going to get up to my actual sell price. So I got a little nervous and I kind of lowered it back down and I just sold, and I think it was around $84 or $83. And I sold about, I think, 225 shares. So I returned almost the full $19,000, and I still had 184 shares of Beyond Meat. So within like a week or 10 days, I don't know exactly, I had returned all of the money that I put in, and I still had 184 shares of Beyond Meat. So I was like, this is amazing. This is a super ideal situation for me. It takes off the pressure, the risk completely. And now I can just be in this company long term because that's what I kind of believed in from the beginning anyways, and that's what I wanted to do. However, things didn't stop at that point. It took a short-term small dip, but then it just kept going up and up and up. They announced partnerships with other restaurants like Tim Hortons and eventually Dunkin' Donuts. That may have been a little bit later, but they were constantly coming out with new things. They had a new product formula that they were working on and going to be releasing soon. At this point, it's already been released, as well as their new product, which is amazing. But all this stuff was just like kind of pumping the stock up. There was so much hype around it. You could tell like a lot of just consumers of the product were being invested in the stock, were interested in the stock. So it just kept going up to above $100. And then what happened is their Q1 earnings were due. So they did their Q1 earnings call, and it was better than expected. They substantially beat kind of the expected numbers, and their new revenue prediction for 2019 was over $220 million for the year. So that was incredible. It was even better than we were all expecting. And that made the stock price shoot up to above $160. That was within 40 days of the IPO. So from going from where it was supposed to open at $25 to $160 was just ridiculous. And it was insane. And I can't even describe. There was nothing else like it. Obviously, no other IPOs have been like this for forever. It was truly just like an insane situation. So at that point, the valuation was getting pretty high. It was sitting around, I believe, at that point, I think 9-10 billion. I could be wrong on that, but it was extremely high. I was still in it for the long term, though. I was like, you know what? I've already returned my initial investment. I'm going to wait it out and just hold this long term and see, where they end up 5 years from 10 years from now. And that was kind of the plan at that point. Now, some time had kind of passed since that $160 mark, and they continued to just blow everybody away. The price kind of kept slowly rising. They announced partnerships. I think at that point it was actually the Dunkin' Donuts partnership. And the price of the stock just kept going up. And a few months later, it was around $230 or $234. And my remaining 184 shares were worth about $43,000 at that point. Now, their Q2 earnings at this point were due. So they were going to be doing a Q2 earnings call. And I was really excited. I was thinking they were going to beat kind of the expectations again. So at this point, I was really tempted to kind of sell my stock, though, because I was looking at it, I was like, this is a $43,000 return in an insanely short period of time. And also the valuation is just ridiculous at this point. I don't care how fast they're growing. A $15 billion valuation is just insane. So that was kind of my mindset. But I was thinking, you know what? There's been so much hype around this. I'm going to wait until the Q2 earnings call. I think they're going to beat the expectations. And I think the stock price is going to go up maybe to 250, 260. And then I was just going to sell. I believed it would dip. I believed it would come back down at some point, which it has at this point. We'll get to that in a bit. And then I would rebuy or recoup some of the shares that I would be selling. So that was the plan. But then they did their Q2 earnings announcement, and they did in fact beat revenue expectations for Q2. They were predicting to do 52 million in sales. They actually did 60 million or 67 million in sales. However, they were expected to only lose 8 cents per share. They actually lost 24 cents per share. They had made some investments into, continued expansion, obviously more manufacturing and stuff like that, which was fine, but that was a bit of a shocker to everyone. And also, maybe more substantial, is they announced a secondary offering of shares. So they said they would be selling 3 million shares, some from the company and some from insiders. Even the CEO, Ethan himself, would be selling about $9 million worth of shares. And they would be doing that secondary offering at $160. Now, the point of that was basically just to allow some of these early investors and CEO, CFO, people like that to be able to kind of make some initial return based on this insane IPO, be able to actually cash out a little bit, which totally makes sense. I would do the same thing in their situation. So I get it, but that was totally unexpected. And obviously $160 is substantially lower than the current, at the time, $234 price per share. So all of the articles that came out immediately after that earnings call were very negative, basically saying, they lost a lot per share, they announced a secondary offering, all this kind of negative stuff, and the price started dropping immediately. I was already in that mindset where I was like, I'm going to sell after the earnings call and after it goes up a little bit and just gain this or capitalize on this amazing return that I've gotten. So that was the mindset I was in. So when it started dropping, I was like, I'm just going to do it. I sold it at $224 a share, all of it, which netted about $41,000. And remember, that was basically all profit at that point. So I was done. I was out. And then the share price continued to drop. That day it ended at $195. So I felt pretty good about that decision. I felt like I made the right decision. I wanted to use that money in a real estate deal anyways. So for me, it was a win-win. And I was like, you know what? If the price really drops back down, which I think it will, then maybe I'll buy some more. Now, today it's sitting at around $165. So it's come down quite a bit since I sold it at $224. Now, of course, it could very well go back up. And I do still believe in the long term of the company in the plant-based space. So if it does go up, that's fine. I'm still very happy with the return that I got in that short period of time. And I'm going to be using that capital, like I said, to invest in real estate. So for me, it was the right decision regardless of what happens. And I may still get some Beyond Meat stock if the price drops down a little bit more to what I think is a reasonable valuation based on where they're at with today's sales and where they're going in 2019, 2020. So kind of an insane story, but that's how it happened. Overall, really stressful. I would not recommend it. Obviously, this is step-by-step. Anybody can do this. You just have to find this very unique situation and do exactly everything that I did. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and this kind of insane story. I hope Beyond Meat is incredibly successful. I hope it pushes the plant-based space further even more. And overall, I'm just happy about the IPO and happy about the return that I was able to get. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. I would really appreciate it. I'm going to be making more videos like this, as well as around real estate and some of the upcoming deals that I'm looking at doing. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys soon.